Good morning. Today we finish the book of Ecclesiastes. So on Monday we will begin the Song of Solomon. Tomorrow morning we will worship at Mabel at 9 o'clock. That'll be live on Facebook, and at 10:30 at Our Savior's in McHenry. Of course, both of them are in person as well, but just Mabel is live at 9. Today we finish this book of Ecclesiastes. And chapter 10 is, again, kind of a series of observations, sayings. And the first verse, dead flies make the perfumer's ointment give off a foul odor, so little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. And it's, just a little bit of something that's wrong spoils the whole batch, and I think about this dead flies odor. We've got some of these fly traps out in the yard, and they stink. I mean, and the more flies they get in them, the worse they stink. And so it's just, it's like the dead skunk in the middle of the road. I mean, that you drive by it, and every time you drive by it, it just stinks. It's just, it's not a good thing. So, you don't want to. One little thing, and that's, we've read in Proverbs and other places, if you break one commandment, you've broken them all. You don't need to break every commandment to be a sinner. We are all sinners, that way. But just one of those things that just kind of, jumps out at you. This dead flies spoil the whole perfumer's whole batch. In verse 3, even when fools walk on the road, they lack sense, and show to everyone that they're fools. They just make wrong choices. Verses 5 through 7, there's an evil I have seen that proceeds from the ruler. And then semicolon. These are the things. Folly is set in many high places. You put a fool in charge of things. You put somebody that hasn't got any common sense or the ability to do it. You put a fool in a high place. And the rich sit in a low place, and the rich maybe isn't a good example of just because they're rich, but you put the wrong person in a place of position and power. It's just not good. And I've seen slaves on horseback and princes walking on foot like slaves. I mean, there's a proper place for things, a proper ordering, and in our leaders and in so much of life, it's, things should be in their proper places. And that's, if you're, sometimes if you're baking something or cooking something, you need to do things in the proper order, have things in the proper place. And, but, it's just, whatever. Number 8, whoever digs a pit has a chance of falling into it. Yeah. And whoever splits a log will be endangered by them. If the iron is blunt and you don't sharpen the edge, it takes more strength. And, it's just, you don't split wood with something that's really big and wide. You need to have that sharp edge on it. And if you're using a knife in the kitchen to cut a tomato or to cut anything, a sharp knife cuts so much nicer than to try to struggle with something that's not right. Verse 15, the toil of fools wears them out. They don't even know the way to town. They run around like they got their heads cut off. They try this and try that rather than be able to figure out the right way to do it, and everything that way. Chapter 11 begins with, send your bread out upon the waters, and after many days you will get it back. I mean, take a chance. Send your bread out on the water. You put it's going to sink, but it's to take a chance. And it'll come back. But then verse 2 is, again, good advice. Divide your means 7 ways or even 8, for you don't know what disaster may happen on earth. And it's, invest wisely. Have a diverse portfolio. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't say that I'm going to put everything I got right here. And it's if people, people, we are good at saying, man, I really need this, you know, and we work so hard to get this, and then, you know, it's just not what we thought it would be. Or, you know, you go broke on it, whichever. But, you know, to take a chance, but yet to be observant and to be diligent, and you know, like you put your bread on the water, you take a chance on this, but don't put everything in it. You know, invest wisely and pay attention to so much of what goes on. You know, verse 3, when clouds are full, they empty rain on the earth. And, you know, and overnight we got a little shower here again. And, you know, so things are wet and damp, and, you know, and we know that the earth and all of the plants that are upon the earth need this watering that comes from the sky. And it's just, you know, we can watch clouds float by so many different times, and, you know, but when they get heavy and when they get dark and when they build up really high and they get those big old thunderheads that we can see off in the west as they're coming this way, or, you know, sometimes they come up from the south and different things too. But, you know, when those clouds get heavy, you know, the rain comes, nourishes the earth, and it's all a part of how God put things together. Verse 5, just as you do not know how the breath comes to the bones in the mother's womb, so you don't know the work of God who knows everything. And I always marvel when I think about how a baby, you know, human or animal, forms in the womb. You know, you get these two little things that come together, you know, a sperm and an egg, and somehow, you know, some of it becomes ears and eyes, and I mean, how does the miracle of growth happen in the mother's womb that way? We don't understand that. I mean, it's just how each cell knows how to become like a fingernail, and how the fingernail, you know, is hard, you know, compared to the rest of our skin. You know, it's just, you know, we don't know how all of that happens. And it's just, you know, one of the miracles. Verse 7, light is sweet and it's pleasant for the eyes to see the sun. And, you know, when, I mean, you get up in the middle of the night, you know, and it's dark, and sometimes, you know, sometimes the sky is really bright at night, even without the moon. And sometimes we have this bright moon, and there are many differences. But, you know, light is sweet. It helps us to be able to see and for things to be made known. And this is, you know, when Jesus says, I am the light of the world, and you know, when God causes the light to shine, and it's, you know, the light exposes the dark and the things that happen in the dark, and it's just so nice to have daylight. And I know too that, you know, our days here in the Northern Hemisphere are getting shorter now, noticeably shorter. I mean, it's dark at 8 o'clock at night, whereas, you know, middle of June, it was light until nearly 10 o'clock at night, you know. But, you know, excuse me, light is life-giving. And this is when Jesus says, I am the light of the world, you know, he's giving life to the world. Verse 10 of chapter 11, banish anxiety from your mind and put away the pain from your body, you know, for the youth and, but, you know, to put away this anxiety and this stress. I've talked about that, you know, how this anxiety and stress is hard on our body. You know, it causes blood pressure to go up. It causes, you know, so many different things that way. If we can somehow get to the point of, you know, being relaxed and being open and you know, kind of letting things bounce off a little bit more, which is difficult. I understand all of those things. Chapter 12, you know, this conclusion of this book, you know, remember your Creator. And that, I mean, it's super important to remember who God is. Verse 9, besides being wise, the teacher, capital T, this is God the teacher, also taught people knowledge, weighing and studying and arranging many proverbs. The teachers sought to find pleasing words, and he wrote the truth plainly. And, and God wants good for us. There's no doubt about that. The last two verses of Ecclesiastes, the end of all matter, all has been heard. Fear God, keep his commandment, for that is the whole duty of everyone. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil. And so it's just a reminder of, seeking God, and knowing that, God knows what's in our hearts. God knows what's in our minds. We can't keep any secrets from God. And that's one of the great things, is that even when God knows those deep, dark secrets, he still loves us, still forgives us, still welcomes us into his